Hi, everybody. It's your old pal Chet, and concluding this elongated, off schedule Springer week, we are taking a look at 30th anniversary Voyager class Springer. This is the figure that everyone was looking forward to. I know I was. Saw that at Toy Fair in early 2013. So happy to see this on shelves now, showing up at Target, available at Amazon, Big Bad Toy Store, lots of places. Just a fantastic figure. Um, he does come with a couple accessories. First of all, he has this great double barreled blaster cannon. There we go. Believe it or not, it's a pressure launcher. I think going forward, Hasbro, in their cost-cutting magic, has figured out using pressure launchers is a little bit cheaper than spring-loaded. And just so you know, you can store the missiles in a spring-loaded in a pressure launcher, and not have to worry about a spring um, getting strained over time, wearing out, or misfiring. But the way it works is you press this or slide this whole lever contraption forward and it launches. Now I found that if you do it slow, one missile at a time, they shoot a little farther. The first one tends to shoot a little farther than the second one, but both of them shoot quite nicely. It has this great adjustable grip. That's for car mode. We'll get to that a little bit later. Next accessory is his sword. Now, Springer has been always been known as a swordsman. Um, very nice looking sword. I don't remember what kind of sword, how his sword looked in the cartoon, or even if he had it. But the original toy had more of a broadsword, whereas the Creon had like a katana type swords. It's changed over. I mean, this is a nice hybrid of the two. It can still turn into the rotor blades of the helicopter mode. Just come up here, and it helps if you have nails. You can just get on in there and split it apart, and each side folds down. And then what you can do is this little gray guard right there flips up and actually locks the rotor blades open, and when it's down, locks the spinning mechanism in place. This is really cool. So we're just going to put that aside and for copter mode. Now, focusing on Springer, this is based on the newer Last Stand of the Wreckers look. One thing I want to mention right off the bat is his legs are not as small as they've appeared in photos and video reviews, including this one. For some reason, um, his legs tend to appear on camera a little smaller. They're not. Secondly, the instructions don't show being able to go from car to helicopter robot or helicopter car robot, but you can do that, and I will show you how. Um, Also, on the forearms here, these green panels actually do peg into place and are solid. And for some reason, they look a little loose in photos. I think that's just how things show up. But for articulation, his head is on a very expressive ball joint. Um, Looks around like that. I am a little disappointed that the panel that connects the neck, head to the main body, there's that gap there. For shoulders, swivel joint there, ratchet joint at the elbow, bicep or rotation at that joint, rotation at the wrist, and the wrist can flex inward and outward. Unfortunately, there's no forward pivot, which I would have liked to have seen, with the sword and all. No waist articulation, but the hip is on a ball, not a universal joint, I think it's called. Ratchet at the knee, and there is a cut right below the joint on the calf. Um, there is also a slight inward bend on the knee, but that's really more for transformation. And the feet, you can pivot them a little, and there are uh, ankle spurs. Let me just move the camera down a little because there is something I'm going to point out, and that's the tail fins here. Now, in packaging, they're folded up like so behind the leg. Um, and on the back of the package, it shows you that that's how they have. In the instructions, they're shown out like this. I guess it's up to you how you want to position it. I'm not 100% sure. Also, these fins can pop off if you bend them too far. But hey, that's how it is nowadays. You know, back in the 80s, that would have been broke. Also, the legs have a natural, what they call an A stance. Um, so he has that sort of action aggressive pose. But yeah, other than that, it's the gray and green coloring with the yellow highlights. I mean, this isn't the 100% classic Springer look, but it's really close enough. So we're gonna start with the transformation. Okay, we're gonna start off going from robot to helicopter. I'm doing it this way since I feel certain aspects of the shared transformations are better shown in helicopter mode. First, what you want to do is take his shoulder panels and rotate them up and then slide them down until they click. When going back to robot mode and you're pulling those panels out, make sure you pull them all the way. They should be able to rotate out to the side freely. Next, what you want to do is go to the arm here, rotate that green panel down, and then you're going to rotate the outside of the forearm half of the way, rotating the fist up, and then you're going to proceed on a now exposed joint, rotating the arm up. Now there's something that I should note is that there is a double joint here, and you want to make sure that you rotate that panel on that second joint because you want to be able to peg this fin into this outer shoulder section that's covering the wheel. Make sure the arms are straight too, that would help. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, rotating this panel open, then rotating it down, folding the fist in, and then bringing it up, and there's the peg right there that you want to peg the arm or the forearm panel into. Next, what you can do is go ahead and, well, actually first you should go ahead and peg the arms into these yellow chest pieces and then separate the yellow chest pieces down. You might, during transformation, the arms might separate. Just go ahead and repeg them back in. And when transforming them back to a robot and pegging this chest section into the main part of the chest, when you go to separate the arms, they might come out. So you might want to separate the arms, then push the panel in. Making sure everything's good. Next, what you want to do is come up, bring this front yellow piece up. The landing gear is already extended, and you want to just go and push the head down at the same time. Now the head can actually get stuck. Very finicky clearance right there, but I think we got it. And no, I think I jinxed myself. Oh, there we go. Just pop it down, get it through, rotate the head down into the chest right there. Now this top part, there's a little slot right there, and there's a clip right here. And believe it or not, there is a little hinge on this window part that will help you slide that in. Um, Next, what you want to do is just go ahead and bring these panels down to the side. This is something I was a little disappointed with. These panels really don't peg into place. I mean, it's just one of those things. And then, yeah, let's come around for the back section. One thing I almost forgot to mention is you can go ahead and fold these panels back down into place. They do peg into the forearms quite nicely, and that's that. Like I said, I am a little disappointed that this doesn't, these sections right here don't peg in a little better on the body. Next, what you want to do is peg the legs together, and basically that's where that secondary joint on the inside of the leg comes in. And that basically what you're going to do is just make sure the legs are straight, and then just peg it together. And if you notice, there is that extra hinge there, helps bring it in. It's like in and then wide and then straightens out into the tail. This is something that's, when doing car mode, isn't really shown that well. Basically, you're leaving the tail fins as they are. Flip up the feet. That'll form the rear section, what have you. Now for another little finicky, tricky part. You're going to fold down this back panel. In doing so, you're going to want it to peg into the rear legs, and then you're going to bend the knees ever so slightly forward, so the landing gear, which was the knee pads, you're folding straight and like so. Now it doesn't peg in. It's more like it rests there. Hopefully I'm not doing that wrong, but you're just about done with helicopter mode. What you want to do now is just come in, slot the rotor blade in the top, and there you go. Now the question of what do you do with the gun in helicopter mode is answered very easily. You can flip up the landing gear, and much like Darker the Moon Skyhammer, you can fit the weapon in underneath. There's no real technique to it. You just got to fool around, because it doesn't peg, it doesn't clip, it just slides in there, but it's held quite securely. And the rotor blades spin. No real new colors are revealed. I really do like this helicopter mode. I think it's kind of cool. But yeah, so now we're going to go into car mode. So first you want to just go ahead and remove the gun from the front. Oh, I don't like that sound. And then go ahead and remove the rotor blades, put them off to the side. Now, the instructions, as I mentioned, show you starting back in robot mode. But classically, triple changers have always been mode to mode to mode, and without having to go back to a neutral point. So that's what I'm coming from here. First, what you want to do is disconnect the back section here, and you want to bring out those arms a little. And so what you're going to do is, this whole back section was pegged in. You're now bringing it back, so what was the cockpit of the helicopter can now come and peg in there, becoming the rear of the car, like so, and basically leaving that panel, you can fold that panel back down. Next, you're going to have to do some transformation on the arms. Basically, you're going to unpeg that section, flip up that side windshield, straighten everything out like so, come around to these panels covering the wheel, rotate it around, and then push it down into place, making sure everything is straight and even. Doing it again on this side, rotate that arm down so it's flush, flip up the joint there, make sure everything is straight, rotate that black panel around, and then, peg it in. Now this is, again, one of the more finicky parts of the transformation. You're going to bring this section forward, and there is 2 points here, in here, and along the side that the arms peg into. Unfortunately, it's very finicky and kind of annoying, but you can get it to work, but it will oftentimes pop out. Get it in, get it in. It's just one of those things that, in my opinion, I would have liked to have seen these pegs and what have you a little bigger, a little longer. Okay, so next what you want to do is come around, separate the rear of what was the tail of the helicopter and the feet ankles of the robot mode. Lay these panels flat, and as you're rotating the legs around, rotate that tail section towards the rear. And this will actually peg into, there's like a tab here that will peg into a slot on the arm. And again, it's just getting it all lined up into place so everything is nice and neat. You want to can go ahead, come underneath, fold those knee pads all the way up, flush with the body, and just about got it. Just about got it. Yes. Yeah, I do believe so. Everything looks flush-ish. I'm doing a very quick cursory inspection. This is what happens when you have a lot of those swivel joints, is that one thing can end up being out of joint. But yep, here we go. Here's Springer in car mode. Armored car mode, I should say. There is some natural panel gapping up front, but this does bear a strong resemblance to the classic car mode. Now what are we going to do with the rotor blade? Well, there is actually storage for it. Gonna turn it into its sword mode, just like this. Fold it up, nice and neat. And then, if you come in underneath with the green, almost like mini-con type port going towards the underside, you can pull out his knee spurs ever so slightly, and then slide the sword in, and there are little grooves on the inside of the leg, the inside of those knees that will hold it in place. Now, to be honest with you, I really don't peg it in there. It's supposed to, but it doesn't. It just holds. And then, of course, you can take his gun and peg it in top here. And that's where that little hinge comes in that you can swivel it around, and there you go. And I do believe something just popped loose, so but whatever. This is actually quite a fun toy. It is a little nerve-wracking with all the panels and what have you, but I can highly recommend Springer. It's a fun transformation, as you can see. Yes, it's a little fidgety, but that's when you're dealing with these little small pieces. I mean, sure, they could have made the tabs a little bigger, but I don't know if that would have made much of a difference. It's a like I said, showing up online. Big Bad, Hobby Link, a lot of the online retailers are showing up in brick and mortar. I've heard people picking it up at Target predominantly, but also in of all places Kmart. Never really remember Kmart being a great place to find toys. So yeah, if you can find it, pick them up. I think this is a great start to the 30th anniversary. It's a solid figure, which I think is very important to mention. Um, I don't doesn't feel hollow, doesn't feel light. It feels right. So this is your old pal Chuck, and for Springer, we'll see you next time.